This right here is the Daiwa Tatula SVTW casting reel. I know it sounds a little confusing, but let's break it down in today's video and I'll give you guys my overall thoughts on the reel. Now, before I can give you my overall thoughts and the features on this reel, let's go over the specs on the model that I have in my hands right here. Now, the one I have in my hands right here is the TAT USV 100HL. This guy right here is the 7.1 to 1 gear ratio. It has a max drag of 11 pounds. The bearings are 7 plus 1. It's coming in at 6.9 ounces for weight. It can hold 100 yards of 14-pound test, and the MSRP is $219.99. Now, this reel has a lot of features, but the three that really stood out to me were the hyperdrive design, the Twing system, and the SV spool. Now, as for looks, Daiwa really killed it on this reel. This is a super sleek looking setup. I like how Daiwa's kind of going with that route. They're going with more of that, like, it's kind of that glossy gray black. It's like a glossy gunmetal, which I really think is cool. Shimano's kind of doing something similar to that as well. I feel like Shimano's are a little brighter silver on some of their reels, but I just really like the overall look of this. I love the side plate on the, on the side there with the nice Daiwa logo. With the nice old Tatula marking there. It just overall, in terms of the handle and everything, how this reel was built, it just looks super sleek and just super cool to the eye. I just love that all black look. It would pair up really well with a whole bunch of different rods on the market today. Now, as for the versatility and function, this reel comes in a left and right hand model and has 3 different gear ratios. Those gear ratios are a 6.3 to 1, 7.1 to 1, and an 8.1 to 1. So, whether you're wanting to slow roll crankbaits, burn top water in, flip, pitch, whatever you need, whatever your purpose is, they have a model that can cover you for that, which is really nice. As for the durability and build quality on this reel, this is where the Daiwa features really start coming into play. They have, on this one, it says the hyperdrive design, which is basically includes their hyper armed housing and their hyper tough clutch, which basically ensures the reel will hold up in all sorts of different situations. Now, although I still think Shimano's mag seal has everyone beat at the moment, I do believe that this reel is made incredibly tough, and I think it's going to last you for a long time, even if you're pretty rough on it. As for the ergonomics and feel with this reel, it's very slim. As you guys notice, this is a 100 sized reel, but it's very slim in your hands. It's very easy to hold. It pairs up nice on a rod too. It's really comfortable to completely palm and hold. I do have one gripe in terms of the ergonomics on this reel, and that is the spool tension knob on the left side, at least for me, the left side of the reel, can sometimes be a little tricky to turn. There's like basically this little black outer layer that kind of like covers the spool tension knob, and it is it can make it kind of difficult to turn that tension knob with your fingers. Like it can be a little tricky, and especially if your fingers are wet, or you're wanting to hold it and you're using your non-dominant hand, it just can be a little tough. And I feel like if they reduced the size of that little black ring right there and gave you just a little more grip to be able to hold that tension knob, I feel like it would be much easier to use overall. But it's just a little tricky. It's kind of hiding right there in the corner behind that star drag, and it can be really, like, at certain points, depending on where your handle is, it can be almost dang near impossible to try and turn that thing. So that's my one con as far as ergonomics go, but other than that, the reel is very comfortable in your hand. The spool tension knob isn't a huge gripe on that, but when you do compare it to like the Abu Garcia Revo X, for example, which I actually reviewed a couple weeks back, that Revo X is the best tension knob I have ever felt on a baitcaster. It has a nice click to it. Even the Shimano's, like the Curado M and some of those, the spool tension knob is much easier to turn and adjust on the fly than this one is. It also has the Twing, which is Daiwa's kind of, bread and butter in terms of all their high-end baitcasters and even some of their lower end as well. And that Twing basically helps get the line through the spool with the least amount of resistance possible, which is going to help you cast farther. Because as we all know, line resistance is probably the #1 reason why you don't get as far of a cast. Whether it's a knot in your line, whether it's the wrong eyelets, just something along those lines, that is why you aren't casting as far. And the less resistance you can give that line, the farther you're going to make a cast, especially with lighter lures. And that's why I love that Twing, and I think this is a great reel to use for some of those lighter lure aspects. Now, as for price, this reel is coming in at around 220 bucks, which I do think was smart of Daiwa to put this lower than the Curado DC, because overall, I think the Curado DC is a better reel. I think you're getting farther casting with the DC. I love the features on it. I just love the DC chips. I do think they really, really work. However, I also think that this reel, it feels very similar in terms of casting, right? It feels very comparable to a Curado M, and the Curado M's are coming in around 200 bucks, so they're pretty close in price on that factor. Now, whether you would want the Curado M versus the Tatula, it's kind of up to you and which features and which technologies you like more. The Curado's got the MGL spool, the Daiwa's got the SV and the Twing, right? So there's kind of each one's got some pros and cons. You know, if you're a big Daiwa guy and you're a big fan of the Twing system, then I think you're gonna really like this reel. If you're, you know, especially not only a Shimano diehard, but if you're a Curado diehard and you just really like the technology and the Shimano stuff, I think you're gonna like the Shimano more. And me personally, if I had a choice of the two, I'm picking the Curado M just because I really love that reel. I love the entire line of Curados. I love Shimano's technology on that. But this is not saying that this is a bad reel whatsoever. The technologies, the SV and the Twing and the hyperdrive, Daiwa was really smacking it with some of those technologies, and the braking on the side here is pretty easy as well. To briefly summarize it here, the technologies you're getting in this reel is worth the money. This is definitely a reel that is worth the money to buy, for sure. Okay, let's go over the pros and cons of this reel here real quick. So as for the pros, we have the looks. I love the sleek, that sleek gray shiny design there. We also have the build quality, right? That hyperdrive, the super tough material, it's gonna last for you. As for the ergonomics, it also feels great in your hand. You can fish it all day. You're not going to have any fatigue. And the casting's a big one on this. The SV, you know, the SV spool and that TW, you know, the T-wing in there is going to really help you launch casts, especially on some of your lighter or your kind of trickier to cast lures. As for the cons, that spool tension knob, it can be a little bit tricky to adjust at times with that weird little, you know, black ring piece that's over the top of the spool. It just can be a little tricky. And for a $220 reel, I feel like they could have made this much easier to use. As for rating, I'm giving this guy an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a great product. I do think there's some products very similar to it that fish just as well, if not a little better. But I love the features that Daiwa put in this reel. I love how the reel looks. I love how it matches up on a rod. And I think overall, Daiwa did a great job on this product. If you guys want to see another baitcast reel close to this guy right here, I'll put a video right up there. If you guys also want to see a rod that would go really well with this reel, I'll put one of those right here for you guys. So hopefully you guys got a kick out of today's episode. Hopefully you learned something. I'll see you guys next time on Humbug Videos.